Hello, my name is Jorb. I love gear, and this is the Kinotone Sparks. Overdrive, an analog wavefolder, an analog multi-mode filter, all in stereo with a built-in LFO and a built-in envelope follower. Those can both modulate pretty much any parameter. It's crazy. The closest thing I can think of is the Chase Bliss Condor, and that maybe has half of the modules that we have here. And the modulation here is so much more like presented to you from the front. Plus we have an envelope, but I'm already rambling. Who might buy it? Somebody who wants a sort of harmonic control Swiss Army knife. Maybe you just really want a like configurable stereo tremolo. Maybe you just want a bandpass filter in a pedal. Sparks could be a lot of things to a lot of people in a lot of ways, so we have a lot to talk about. But thank you, Kinotone, for sponsoring this. This is their second pedal. The first pedal, Ribbons, sort of a tape emulation thing. Also super, super impressive. Very small company, but I really want to highlight that now at the part of the video that pretty much everybody will watch, and the pedal doesn't feel that way. I would give grace to a company in that position. I don't have to with Kinotone. This stuff is smart and refined and polished. I digress. If you're subscribed, thanks for coming back. If you're a patron, that means the world to me. If you aren't either, you can subscribe or support me in any other way that you see in the description, and Instagram follow, affiliate links, buy my sounds, whatever. Let's make some noise. Here we are in my living room. What a treat. Don't be weird about it. With my beloved 1980 Rhodes Mark II. It feels like the right instrument to show off Sparks, and I didn't want to move it downstairs because it's big and heavy. But the Rhodes is going stereo out into Sparks. Sparks is going stereo out into Delverb. Delverb's going stereo out into my Zoom H5. Sparks is described by this delightful little manual, which I do want to highlight. Very, very nice, amazing visualizations. Kinotone says analog harmonic processor. I think that's a really, really good place to start, because it's a bunch of analog harmonic processing effects. That's an overdrive, a wavefolder, a filter. There's separately a low cut. You can just manage your level. That's all in here, but you can control it with an LFO and an envelope follower. We're going to start really slow, okay? We're going to start with just navigating Sparks, controlling Sparks. So when you're just on the first layer, we'll call it, that's the black labels under each knob, okay? If I want to turn up gain, that's the black label underneath this knob. And you see that blue LED goes up as I turn it up? That's really what we want to pay attention to, because there's two layers to everything. So I'm going to turn gain a little hot. If I want to turn the level down now to compensate, I go to the second layer, and the second layer is the white label under everything. And I want to turn the level down. Also, these knobs, they move relative. So if I put level all the way at 0, and I go back to the other layer, and I want gain to go up, you'd think it would jump to the position of the knob, but it doesn't. If you want that parameter to go up, you turn the knob up. If you want that parameter to go down, you turn the knob down. So trust the LED over anything, right? But know that if you want more, you got to go up. If you want less, you got to go down. If you want it to line up with where you're at, just wiggle it a couple times and it'll line up. It'll be reflected with what you see sort of on the knob. So that's level down and gain up of our overdrive. And that can get pretty hot. Same thing, if I want level down, push it down. I want gain up, I push it up. Little hot. Nice. So that's a bunch of gain, and I've been compensating for level the whole time, so it isn't so bad. Let's turn them both down. And we have a smooth blend here between that drive and a wavefolder, which is crazy. How many pedals have a wavefolder? So again, watch the LED. This one's below. It's hard to position my fingers so you can see the knobs where the values go up. But I blend into the wave folder. Already, same thing, right? I want to compensate with level. Crazy cool. Man, I wish I had the oscilloscope. You know what? Okay, you guys better appreciate that I went and ran. Anyway, so we're on the wave folder. If you don't know how wave folders work, it's like an Overdrive, but as you get to the top of its threshold, instead of clipping, it sort of folds the wave back in on itself. And it's very responsive to level. So if I turn on the stereo tremolo that's built into the Rhodes, you can hear it coming through. Or if I play louder or softer, and we can blend anywhere between that drive and the wave folder. To me, that's already a pretty unique effect. Not much else does that. So even from that point, right? Even from, yes, it's a Overdrive that's also a wave folder. Kind of hype. There's some buzzing. That's certainly from a combination of the Rhodes not being bright and clear. This setup not being bright and clear. But I kind of did that on purpose. So you can hear there's a gate built in to Sparks. So I want the white label here. What do I press? Layer, and then this LED already. This is cutting off all the noise below that threshold. And it's doing a really, really, really good job. If I turn up the reverb again. Hear how good that gate is? If I turn off the reverb. You're still getting that sort of key release sound of the Rhodes. So yeah, I did that on purpose so you could hear like, yes, this knows it's raucous and it's got tons of gain on tap, and it gives you a way to manage that with that built-in gate. Okay, we've made it through the drive and the gate, and you've seen gain and level. We have tons of extra high harmonics now. You can tame those with the filter. It is a state variable. I think it's 24 dB per octave. I think it's a 4-pole. But right now, but we have a smooth blend between modes. So if I put the cutoff about here, resonance here, we've got low pass, band pass, all the way into high pass. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Very, very cool. So you see me moving this cutoff knob a lot. What if I want that to move automatically? Let's start with the LFO. LFO is really easy to hear. If you're coming from the synth world, you know what that is, but it's just a cyclical modulation. So the way you modulate, and this is true for the envelope and the LFO, press this button. It says map. It'll start flashing between red and green to show you you're modulating. And if I push cutoff up, it'll go green. Down, it'll go red. So positive or negative modulation. So let's do positive modulation. And remember, the knobs are relative, so I want more, I push it up. Let's do really high and have our cutoff be kind of low. Again, these LEDs are really helpful. And we have a bunch of shapes for our LFO. Those are the white labels, so I hit layer, and I can do anything between sine, triangle. We've got this sawtooth. I will say, I would have drawn that the opposite, wouldn't you? Jumps up, it slowly falls. I guess we can modulate it negatively, so it doesn't make that much of a difference. We can rise that way. Man, I really like that. A square. Sample and hold, so sort of a jittery random. Or a smooth sample and hold. Very cool. If I say want to change my mind about that modulation, I don't want the LFO to modulate anything anymore. If I hold on map for 3 seconds, that'll flash white. And that's cleared now. And I could have pointed that anywhere. It didn't have to be the cutoff. It's just a really easy one to hear. All that same sort of control happens over here for the envelope follower. So let's put positive modulation on the filter. Put the filter kind of low. Get us back to the folded sound here. We've got attack. That's our black label, so that's when we have the blue LEDs. I want some more sensitivity out of it, so that's the white label. So I go to our second layer. Now I want more modulation. And even though my knob was over here, I pushed it up because they're relative knobs. Okay, now I want a little less sensitivity. And I want a little more attack, so that's the black knob. How about a lot of attack? There are other sort of response curves for the envelope. I think this is super interesting, and it seems like it's like a deeper setting, but these will change the response of the envelope, classic compressor, and AR. I think those are really important to know. And again, once we get some more complicated routings in here, I'll definitely be using those. But while we're here in this map, if you move this, it'll say there's classic, there's compressor, there's AR for white. So let's try AR. Exactly what I wanted. So I want you to hear that sort of slow rise on the filter. And the same thing again, if I want to get rid of that modulation, I hold map for 3 seconds, it'll go away. A great example they mentioned in the manual for what you can do with the envelope follower is an auto swell. So if I want to auto swell, just think about what that takes for a second, right? I want to use this envelope to control the level. How do I get there? Map, and then right now it'd be the first layer, right? It'd be gain. So I hit layer to get to the second level. Let's do pretty high positive modulation. And I need level to be low from the start, so second layer, let's just put it at 0. There we go. Get those pretty high. Now I have this sort of auto swell. Turn that gain down. Okay, maybe a little bit. Done a lot of fine-tuning of sensitivity of your levels to get something that really works. But that's a sound that seems kind of fundamental. Not something you could normally get out of this. Love that. I know this feels a little meandering, but I'm trying to like look at this, but also teach you everything that this cat has in it. But also teach you about everything you can get here. And again, you can modulate anything, so it's really like, you know, and you can modulate anything, so it's just what can I control in this toolkit, how can I control it. Super, super, super cool. I'm going to clear that. So if I hold 3 seconds on map, and then I need to get our level back to a place where we can hear it. Turn that back down. Something that sounds great on the Rhodes is a stereo tremolo. Well, yes, I have one built in, but we can build one in Sparks. So if I want a tremolo, what is that? That's our LFO modulating our level. So again, map the LFO, layer 2, because it's a white label, it's level. Let's try positive, negative. Let's try negative, and then I'll make sure our shape is a triangle or a sine. That's a mono tremolo. If I want it to be stereo, there's this control called spin. So I see it's a white label, so layer. What spin does is I turn it up. It offsets the LFOs for the left and the right channels. Woo! Beautiful sound. I really could do that forever. And of course, I can use all the irregular shapes with that too. So cool. Instead of being a stereo tremolo, why don't I make it a stereo harmonic tremolo? If I go to
band pass,
get our cutoff somewhere in the middle, use the LFO to modulate our cutoff. I want that shape to be, want some more level, a little less gain, a little more level again. And we can combine things. So I've got that whole stereo movement harmonic tremolo. And what if I also want to do our auto swell again? And you can modulate the other modulator. So why don't I send our envelope to the rate of our LFO? Okay, a little bit less than that. Let's start it off slower. A little bit more than that. So busy, so much. And if I want to reset all that, I can hold both modulation sources and layer, each for 3 seconds. You can hold them all whenever. And we're back to a transparent sound. Do you guys remember all the way earlier when I set up a gate? Think about how far we made it from there. So I think it's a good place to start. You've seen me control sparks. You've heard a bunch of sound examples. And I think the Rhodes is a good instrument to demonstrate a lot of these things with. But it's really specific. And it sort of pairs with the sparks in a way that leads me to certain destinations. So I'm going to go sit down with a couple other setups, find something I like, find something interesting, and then reset sparks and walk you through rebuilding that, walk you through building a patch sort of specifically tailored to the setup I'm working with. Okay, here we are with my trusty SH101 super simple monosynth, 1 VCO, 1 filter, 1 envelope running through sparks. Jorb, this isn't that interesting. You're just using it as a pedal again. First of all, I think Overdrive on synth is great and people should use it all the time. It sounds really, really good to use this as an overdrive. But everything else, these are really synthy parameters. These are really synthesis parameters. So even if I just change no other settings, blend over the wavefolder and adjust our level. mean, that sounds great. Slow everything down. I got some noise. I'm going to go layer 2, turn up our gate. There it is gone. The gate's not nailing it exactly like it did on the Rhodes. Probably with that slow attack, if I'm being honest. But there we go. There's a sort of synthesis element, a module that isn't part of the SH101. That sounds great to me. I don't know of any other Wavefolder pedals. It must exist. I'm sure it does, but it's not something I've ever seen. So short of setting up your rack to just run something like this through it, this is an awesome way to have a Wavefolder. And really, if there is another Wavefolder pedal, I promise you it doesn't control as well as this. Super, super, super cool. And, you know, still it's kind of static, right? It's wavefolding, but it's an interesting distortion, right? I could still hear the argument that, yes, this is very guitar pedal-y still. But what would make it more synthy? Modulating stuff. So I'm going to use our envelope follower, put it on the first one, I think it's classic, and we'll use that to modulate our gain positively. More. Turn the attack up so we can hear it rise. There we go. More reverb. Slow this all down. Slow this down even more. A little bit less. Awesome. I'm actually going to clear that out. So hold it for 3 seconds. I'm going to go back to drive, turn our gain down. Get this back to something more playable. Put our reverb back down. We have a whole other filter here. So there is the one, so it could be a low-pass filter into a low-pass filter. And maybe this one is modulated by our LFO. So let's turn this resonance up. Seems a little mundane now, because everything else has been so bombastic. I'm achieving things sort of akin to a mod matrix, with a really simple synth and a pretty complicated pedal. Hootie Joe rack, right? Of course, I can't help myself but turn on spin. So I hope you're listening in stereo. Because now the SH101 is a stereo filter. God, it's really hard to resist that. That wasn't an example I particularly wanted to show. I just think spin is a really, really clever control. Let's say I don't want to route these in series. I don't want to run this filter into that filter. We have a blend. So there we go. You can see me getting a little lost. Even though I feel like I know Sparks relatively well, it's really easy. Something I find myself doing constantly is hitting mod instead of layer. Because in my brain, it's just, this knob needs to do something else. Regardless, right now we're hearing the SH101. The dry signal's making it all the way through because we brought it in with layer 2 here, that white, that blend. And through Sparks, we're hearing a high-pass filter that's being modulated. Let's not modulate it, so I'll just hold that. Turn that off. And I'll modulate it with our envelope here. There we go. That's doing something. Now, effectively, these two filters are running in parallel. I could do variations of that for a while. But you get the point. This can be series or parallel. Treated as, you know, we can treat this as series or parallel for the second filter. Let's reset everything. We can also just think of, you know, this enabling options that we just don't have on the SH101. Even if we do have an LFO, we can't point to things like our level. So if I modulate from the LFO, layer 2, so we're on level. Actually, I'll subtract. Oh, I gotta make sure our blend is off. There we go. Now we have an LFO. On our level, setting up a tremolo, which is something we can't do here. Let alone something after the filter. Something I haven't shown you yet. There's a range knob for our LFO. It goes, there's 3 steps. And this top one goes really, really fast, all the way up into audio rate. Like, well into audio rate. So if I set this level down at 0, and we're modulating level in the full amount here. Oops, gotta go back out. We've got ring mod. What if I want that to move around a little bit? Let's modulate it with the envelope. Crazy, or audio rate modulation of this filter. I'm actually going to take it off of level while we do this. So right in the middle to be no modulation. And then out of modulation. Kind of the same idea. Now we have filter FM, which is something we can't do here. And I really like modulating that. Crazy. And this is all that we were getting out of the 101 that whole time. This one felt a little sloppy. But that's really all the points I want to make. You can treat this as a guitar pedal, of course. You can treat it as a processor for audio. But with something like this, it's really, really easy and intuitive to think of it as an extension of the synthesis. We have now a second filter, a second LFO, a second envelope, even though it's really limited, plus a wavefolder. Which is just awesome. I can't think of another pedal that feels like that. That's sort of extending the synthesis quite like that. Blah, blah, blah. You get my point. This is the sort of thing that I think makes Sparks feel really, really special. It's stuff that I can't get out of anything else. You know, in this setup, it isn't just a smarter way to set up, you know, tremolo, harmonic tremolo, stereo stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's a unique experience. It's offering something I can't get otherwise. Anyway, that's it. On to the next setup. Here we are, my Oberheim DX with the stretch attachment. It is a sample-based drum machine, early EEPROM sample-based drum machine. I really, really dig it, and it can pair with Sparks in a lot of interesting ways. First and foremost, I've just got a good-sounding stereo drive, which matters. Secondly, the wavefolder can sound pretty cool. And I like that. That's all well and good. But you guys have heard the wavefolder. You guys have heard the Overdrive. I want to show you how we can build a compressor with Sparks. Think about what compression is, right? The louder your signal, the more it pushes your level down, right? So if let's just try. That's good. A little bit of gain. Just for flavor. That's my level. That's where I have it. If I want the envelope follower to push down my level, that's map, and then layer, and then I'll go down here. Gosh, can you see the lights at all? If I try a different response. That's pretty good. So I've sort of, yeah, you get the point. So that's off. That's on. Slight boost, actually. That's way too far. Kind of cool, though. I will say, messing with this is the most finger twistery thing I've done yet. And it does, as much as it pains me to say it, I would kill for a double wide pedal where all these controls are separate. Or I'm not managing layer, or I'm not managing map. I get that it's so much the form factor thing, and it honestly is an achievement that this controls well, but I'm getting pretty finger twisted right now. Anyway, you get the point. You can build a compressor. I don't know if I would take the time to use this as a compressor unless I was using it for a bunch of different presets. You know what I mean? And I need a compressor sometimes. Oh, I need the auto swell sometimes, etc., etc. I would much rather have the controls of a dedicated compressor, but just to show you the sort of flexibility. And let's say I want that same sort of an effect, but I want it on something other than my level. That's what I think is really interesting about that idea, that you have the building blocks for a compressor, but you can point that modulation, you can point that control wherever you want. So what if I pointed at gain? And I'm compressing not the level, or not with the level, with gain. So things are louder, it's less distorted. Or we can flip that around. Make it less gainy, make it louder as things are louder, like emphasize that, but also invert that effect on level. As gain goes up, level goes down. We're sort of compensating for it. That's really the point of that example. You have all the control of a compressor and you can point them anywhere and you can invert some of them. You can count for things. Anyway, let's reset what that is doing, and I'm just going to set this up. Okay, just got some overdrive, some distortion here. Or halfway to wavefolding. Another very, very cool thing that Sparks can do. This is a TRS adapter connected to DIN MIDI through a 1/4 inch adapter. That goes right into the side of Sparks. And one thing that you get from the stretch attachment on the Stretch DX is MIDI tempo out. So you see that flashing there on the range button. Our LFO is now synced in time. So 5-pointer LFO to cutoff. These are all... So right now, as I move rate, we're moving through divisions of the MIDI time. The MIDI clock. I find this to be, like, crazy playable. Spin, so it's stereo. There you go. And if I had something that could send out MIDI CCs, if I was doing this with my MPC, I could sequence those as well. And it's not just MIDI clock. You can change presets. You can send MIDI CC. I'm not going to show you that because if you know how to do that, you'll know how cool it is. But you can automate all of these parameters. And I don't really have a great way to do that. It's not part of a lot of workflows I would use. Regardless, I think that's it for the drum machine. I think this video is going to be very long already. One more. And here for the final setup, you are smart. You'll notice there's nothing in the input jack. We just have MIDI coming in, and I have a MIDI keyboard here. Uh-oh. There is a synthesizer in Sparks. Yes, there is. I won't show you that much, but here are all your controls. Hold layer, press range, and we have a full ADSR, one oscillator, which is based on the SID chip, and some modulation options, and then all of that runs through the audio processing part of Sparks. It's just crazy. It's weird almost that it's here. See if I hit layer and I come back out. I can use all the audio processing parts of Sparks. With its pretty cool built-in synthesizer. I won't walk through all of it. I think the point is mostly made by just showing you that it's here. And it's fully featured. And I think that, like, how many people who buy Sparks are going to know this or going to use this? I don't know. And I mostly bring it up because I think it's a great way to conclude my sort of thoughts overall on Sparks. Because this is an edge case. Not that many people are going to use this. If they do, it's probably for experimentation. But I'm still really glad it's here. And it's still fully featured. And it's still, like, really well thought out. Kind of, Sparks is like that 100 times. Sparks is tons and tons of very clever, well thought out, carefully tuned elements that are all brought together. And if you use 5 of the 100, you know what I mean? Then I think it's worth it for you. What am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? So the synth part is the sort of thing that, like, a lot of people will never use, but it'll probably be the reason that a lot of people buy it. It's exactly what somebody needs, and I think Sparks is that, like, 20 times. Somebody might just see the spin control on a stereo filter and say, oh my gosh, that's what I want in a pedal. Somebody might see the LFO shapes. Somebody might see a wavefolder. There's so many things that are the perfect thing, you know what I mean, for somebody. And they're all here. And a lot of them are, like, kind of totally unique to this. There's a lot of things this does that are, you know, underrepresented or not represented at all in the rest of the pedal landscape. And I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy to exist, period. And it's coming from a super, super tiny company, and it's polished and refined and well thought out in a way that is like really elevates it, I think. But that's really it. I think Sparks is fantastic for tons of different people, and if you use a third, you know what I mean, of everything it can do, it's totally worth it. Or you're interested primarily in a third of what it can do, and you try the other 2/3 once in a while, I think it's extraordinary for that. But I think that's really all I gotta say. My name's Jorb. I love gear. I think Sparks is excellent. Thanks for watching. Cheers and so long. Anticlimactic.